Hello, it's been a while since my last video. I've actually been making videos, I just really don't like the way they've been going, so I haven't really been posting them. The couple of videos that I have made but I haven't bothered editing or posting was the Pepero one, relationship one. More recently I did a film on my Fukubukuro haul when I went to Japan. Now I can easily edit the last two, however I really don't like the direction that they're going in, and also making vlogs I find is not really my style. I'm honestly trying to find some projects to keep myself motivated as much as I'm away from my friends and family back home, and also to try to keep in contact and showing what I do around here and stuff like that. But you know, at the end of the day, if you don't really love the content that you're making, even if it is only for friends and family, you don't really want to post it. So that's why I kind of did want to make an update video onto why I haven't really been vlogging. So what do I have planned for this year, since I might as well talk about my 2018 so far. There's several projects I do want to do. One of them is actually to work and develop a podcast. You're probably thinking that you're not really putting that much effort into making a vlog and maintaining a YouTube channel, but now you want to make a podcast. Originally, the idea for the podcast, tentatively named Foreign Pin, is ideally going to be a collaborative project between me and another foreigner while we're living in Korea. So far, in terms of working on the podcast, we did a tester run and that ended up being an hour long, so we're not going to post that as our official first episode. Because my tentative co-host is a bit on the busy side, I don't want to push her in order to do this podcast with me. However, because I do want to make this podcast happen, because it is a personal project that I really wanted to work on for actually since last year, I know that if I had to do the project solo, I will be doing it solo, which may or may not be quite interesting in how I try to achieve that. If you know me in real life, I'm extremely talkative, so talking is not necessarily the issue. The only problem I have is making sure that everyone who watches my podcast in the end is interested in the conversation and also furthering the conversation. It takes a lot of inspiration from talking to a lot of different foreigners and learning about their cultures and stuff like that. Coming to Korea has been a really great experience in terms of broadening my perspective and understanding of what's going on in the world. As much as I like to think as a Canadian that I have been exposed to many different cultures, especially growing up in Vancouver, the fact of the matter is, because I've grown up in Vancouver and haven't really considered living outside of Vancouver, it really had limited my understanding and perspective as a result. Because of how much I've learned, how much I've been inspired, and how much conversations I've really been in with various different people, I really want to share that knowledge that I have acquired, and also just generally have a conversation with everybody, especially if these are topics that they're really interested in, but no one's really discussing it in a different way, essentially. A lot of what I want to talk about isn't really necessarily going to be coming from a academic perspective, if you want to put it that way. A lot of it is opinionated, and which is why I have tentatively named the podcast Foreign Pin. As much as I don't want to start the project by myself, I want to rely that my tentative partner will be working on this project with me. But if it turns out that she does not end up working with me, I do know that I will try to develop this podcast by myself, and I will invite guest hosts in order to work with me, and also to add more voices to the podcast. A lot of the topics I would like to cover are social issues and of course current events, but yeah, it really depends on the direction that my co-host wants to go in as well, because as much as I want the podcast to go in one direction, the podcast originally is conceptualized as a partnership. I would like to think that it would be a little bit more consistent than my vlogs, and the main reason why I think it would be more consistent is because I don't have to focus on making myself look a little bit more decent to say the least. Putting on makeup, as much as I like putting on makeup, does take a lot of effort. It also makes me very anxious about how I look on camera. I know that I don't look the most perfect, especially how I look right now, but it does save a lot of time and effort, and just basically getting content out there I think is much more important than trying to look pretty for the camera when people don't necessarily care about that in the end. In terms of the length of the podcast, I aim for it to be 20 minutes long. It might be a bit shorter, it might be a bit longer in the future, but I really hope that at least friends and family will be interested in things I have to say and discuss. And yeah, well, ideally I want to try to post something by next week. I can't make any promises, mostly because I do share this project with a co-host currently. Solo casts are plausible. It's just a lot easier to have a co-host, especially when you're discussing social issues. And thank you for watching my vlogs up till now, even though I barely post. And I will see you next time.